Hi.
Hello, sir. So we have him right here with us. So let me introduce Dr. Harsh Nigam to you all. Right. So Dr. Harsh Nigam is a renowned practitioner and an author of 8 books on homeopathy and 12 research papers published in various Indian journals. Despite having obtained MBBS and MD in physiology, he could not suppress the heritage of homeopathy that he received from his erudite homeopathic father, Dr. Jagdish Chandra Nigam. Dr. Harsh then obtained his membership of faculty from Royal London Homeopathic Hospital, UK. Currently, he is spearheading a multi-speciality OPD hospital at Kanpur, a center of excellence in medical homeopathy, a center now well known for providing research-based medical solutions to various health issues. He aims to establish homeopathy on its scientific merit and to make it integrated with orthodox medicine in such a way that the scope and limitations of homeopathy are well defined. His ambition is to educate young homeopaths, and it has led him to write 8 books on homeopathy. 2 of those internationally recognized books are on your screens: Principles and Practice of Homeopathic Case Management and The Miasma, A Road Less Traveled. He is a nominated member of editorial board of IGH and ex-member for Special Committee of Clinical Research at the CCRH, New Delhi. Thank you, sir, for being here with us.
Thank you very much for calling me.
Pleasure, sir. Before I hand over to Dr. Nigam, let me explain to our learners how this interface works. On the right-hand side panel of your screens, you have a short chat box. You may type your questions or whatever message you have for Dr. Nigam right there and press the button next to it to send it to us. I request you all to send your questions only after Dr. Nigam's lecture is over, as that might disturb him. So without wasting any more time, let's start learning. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. So today we are going to talk about something which has always been a bane to every student initially, actually. And maybe by the end of this course, you would understand what vital force is and how Hahnemann himself visualized what vital force is. But before that, I must tell you that Hahnemann declared the motto for his organon in the second edition as Aude Sapere. Now, Aude Sapere, different people tell you different meaning, but I would tell you a bit of history about Aude Sapere so that you may understand what Hahnemann is trying to tell you. Now, Aude Sapere means dare to know or dare to be wise. Now, before Hahnemann, there were 2 people who used Aude Sapere. They were Horace and Immanuel Kant, both philosophers and both enlightened people. Now, Horace, in his first book of Epistle, used a line which was Dimidum facti qui coipe habe sapere ode, which means he who has begun is half done. Then sapere ode means dare to be wise. Now, this means that he who has begun is half done. Dare to be wise. Make a beginning. Now, what do you make a beginning of? Homeopathy? No. Before entering into the field of homeopathy, you make a beginning of medical enlightenment. And that is why Hahnemann has used this motto. I would elaborate further. Now, according to Kant, who was a philosopher and a mathematician and a scientist, he also used the word Aude Sapere before Hahnemann. And for Kant, enlightenment is man's release from self-incurred tutelage. Now, our tutelage in modern day is materialistic tutelage. We have been taught about material sciences. Now, sapere aude for Kant, for Hahnemann is a battle cry. It would coax the readers to follow this program of intellectual self-liberation. So Hahnemann wants you to liberate yourself from the self-incurred tutelage that modern medicine has taught you, that everything is reductionist, that everything is material. And the tool for this liberation has to be reason. And that is why Hahnemann chose this word, that aude sapere is going to be his motto. It is the courage of an individual to follow sapere aude that will break the shackles of despotism and reveal through reason better method of treatment for the benefit of population. Hahnemann has told you that anybody who would follow his line of thinking, his line of reason, would be thrice blessed. And the blessing would be fruitful, multiply, and have domination over other people, other people's thought. So the three blessings that Hahnemann is telling you, that you would be blessed if you follow his reasoning. But his challenge to you is to change your view from this material plane to the dynamic plane. Now, when you study the organon, I would suggest you two organon to study. One would be the 5th edition by Dagen, and the second would be the organon of the medical art. This has been written by Vinda Brewster Oriele, and this is a modern language adaptation of the organon 6th edition. This has simplified English, while Dagen's organon has very difficult kind of old English, which is hard to understand. But when you go through the organon, you would find that Hahnemann has used several words, but his basic word, is vision. Hahnemann has never used the word vital force. Now, Hahnemann was a proud German. He knew English, he knew several languages, but when he was conceptualizing vital force, he could not select a single word, and so he has used several words. The basic word that he has used in his German organon is vision, which was translated into vital force by Dagen. He was the first man to translate vision as vital force. But all through the organon, Hahnemann has used several words: spirit, spiritual, spirit-like, dynamic, dynamis, and autocracy. Be very clear in mind that Hahnemann uses these terms to explain to us the comparison between the grossness of the material world and the intangible, invisible, non-material world. This is something that you must be very clear. Now, when we talk about the non-material world, what do you mean? Now, let me tell you here, and I must make it very clear to you, that there are three planes of existence. The one is virtual, the other is the dynamic or the quantum plane of existence, and the third is the material, the things that we see. Let me elaborate further. Now, material plane is the visible universe. It is the realm of the matter. Like this bell, this is material. Here the creation is manifested as matter. It can be known by five senses. It is three-dimensional. Objects have firm boundaries, and objects are subject to decay and reduction. Now, events here are definite and predictable. Cause and effects are fixed. Now, medically, let me tell you that modern medicine, the so-called allopathic system of medicine, is based on the material worldview. Why? Because every dose has a half-life. So events, and you know that this dose in this amount is going to have these 5, 10, 20 effects. The desired effects are called as effects, and the undesired effects are called as adverse reactions. But the cause and effect are fixed because you give a dose of 650 milligram of paracetamol, then you would have antipyretic effect for 4 hours. So the cause and effect are fixed. Now let us come to the dynamic plane, the plane where homeopathic medicines work. Now this is the realm of mind. This is the realm of the vital force. Here, creation manifests as energy. Information is embedded in energy. Waves and particles alternate with each other. Modern physics teaches us now that waves and particles, they alternate with each other, and events are uncertain. Be very clear. In homeopathy, if you give a medicine, events are uncertain, but probabilities can be measured. And I must make it very clear here. When you instill a homeopathic medicine to somebody, the dynamic part of the body reacts. And when the dynamic part of the body reacts, there are only 10 probabilities which have been classified by Kent himself. There are 10 probabilities, and your next action and the choice of your next remedy would be based upon what the patient displays, which phenomena the patient displays, whether it is initial aggravation followed by amelioration, or whether it is initial amelioration then the decline. So there are 10 possibilities in homeopathy, but be sure events are uncertain. Then what is virtual? What is a virtual domain? A virtual domain is something which was indicated by Albert Einstein as time-space continuum. In past literature, it was referred to as eternal, unmeasurable, infinite dynamism, unbounded. Every point in space is every other point. Wholeness exists in every point. Let us forget about this, because this virtual domain is the realm of soul, and homeopathy does not work at the realm of the soul. I would again quote Kent, who says that anybody who has a sick body, who has a broken bone, who requires surgery, must go to a surgeon. Anybody who has a broken soul must go to a priest. Rest all should come to a homeopath, and he's true. So now we see that there are 3 planes: the virtual plane, the field of soul; the quantum or the dynamic plane, the field of mind and vital force; the material plane, the field of physical existence. Now let us enter into Hahnemannian thought. In homeopathy, we are particularly concerned with the dynamic plane. The dynamic energy Hahnemann has discerned as 2, the mind and the vital force, that is the vision. Now, there is no exact synonym of vision in English. That is why Dajian, after a lot of thought, coined the word the vital force. But in Indian thought, in Indian philosophy, you have an exact Sanskrit word for vision, and that is prana. In India, it is said that प्राण सब में बसते हैं. पत्थर में प्राण होते हैं, पेड़ों में प्राण होते हैं, इंसान में प्राण होते हैं. And this is the concept of vision as Hahnemann has given you. Hahnemann saw in the body but an organism made up of material particles by themselves dead, but vivified, embodied, and adapted to the environment by the spirit within. It is very simple. If I take the vital principle out of you, your body dies and it is subject to decay. Why it decays? Because it cannot adapt to the environment and the environment eats it. You are alive because of something vital inside you. Remember, Hahnemann was a vitalist. And we have to believe in the theory of vitalism if we are to enter into the real spirit of homeopathy. Now quoting aphorism 10 from the organon. The material organism without the vital force is capable of no sensation, no self-preservation. It derives all sensations and performs all the functions of life solely by means of immaterial vision. The life principle, the vital force, which animates the material organism in health and in disease. For example, you have a bulb in your house which is not lit, so it is dead. Once you pass electricity through it, it vivifies. It comes to life and starts throwing light. Now this is the concept that Hahnemann is telling you. In aphorism 9, he says, and herein he defines his definition of vital force. What is vital force? In the healthy condition of man, the spiritual, now this spiritual word is again miscoined. It should have been the spirit-like vital force. So I would refrain it and I would tell you, in the healthy condition of man, the spirit-like vital force, autocracy, the dynamis that animates the material body, rules with unbounded sway. It is unbounded. It rules on its own and retains all the parts of the organism in admirable, harmonious, vital operation as regards to both sensation and function. Now see, here he is giving you a concept of homeostasis. Now homeostasis name was coined by Claude Bernard later, about 50 years later after Hahnemann. But Hahnemann is telling you that the body is made to be in harmonious vital operation by something called as, which he names as vision or vital force. Why the body should remain in harmony? So that all the sensations and all the functions of the body are in harmony. And why? He goes a step further. He tells you that so that our indwelling, reason-gifted mind can freely employ this living, healthy instrument for the higher purpose of our existence. Now, have you ever thought, what is your higher purpose of existence? For that, you would have to again go to footnote of para 141, where he gives you a hint, Nothi Sutan, know yourself. Once you know yourself, you would know the higher purpose of your existence. And I assume all of you who have joined me in this webinar, they are wanting to achieve that higher purpose of healing people. Now, cure and healing are two different things. If you want to heal people, you have to be a Hahnemannian homeopath. So to be a Hahnemannian homeopath, you would have to understand Hahnemann's concept of human organism. Now, the connection between the mind and the body is supposed by him to be affected by the means of vital force when he designates dynamis or vision. You see, in aphorism 9, he's telling you that there is a dynamic force which is making all the body work in harmony, so that there is an indwelling another force, mind, which should work for its higher intellectual functions. So we have in Hahnemannian physiology the spirit, the mind. Now in Organon, Hahnemann used several words: Seele, that is soul; Gemut, which is emotional mind; and Geist, that is spirit. Now by spirit he means, by Geist he means the intellectual mind. By Gemut he means the emotional mind. And by Seele he means the soul. Then there is the material body, the body that we have. And the intermediary between the mind and the body is the vision, the dynamis, the vital force. Now let us turn our mind to the introduction of the Organon. I must tell you all, before stepping into Organon, read the introduction to the Organon very minutely. That's very important to enter into Hahnemann's mind. Let us examine what Hahnemann explains regarding his views on vitalism and the dynamic plane. And he says, and I quote, "The exquisite power, the vital force innate in the human being," we are born with this vital force, "designed to direct in the most perfect manner the operations of life while it is in health. It is equally present in all parts of the organism, in the fibers of sensibility as well as in those of irritability, the unwearying spurring of all the normal natural functions of body." Now let us modernize what he's saying here. He's saying here that we are born with this innate power called as vital force. The action of this vital force is to maintain the operations of health in our body. And this vital force is present equally in all parts of the organism and also present in the fibers of sensibility and irritability. Now, fibers of sensibility are today called as sensory neurons, and the fiber of irritability are today called as motor neurons. So now here Hahnemann is telling you that our body is bathed by the vital force, that is all the fluids of the body, the extracellular and the intracellular fluid which is bathing the whole of the body, and it is also present in the neurons, both the sensory and the motor. So you get that Hahnemann, although was living in the time of medical darkness, was hinting into whatever we have come to know now. Then in the introduction of the Organon, he tells you that the proper function of this instinctive, irrational and unintelligent but automatic vital force is the maintenance of life and health of the organism. Now see, he is giving you the attributes of vital force. He tells you that the vital force is instinctive, which means it only reacts to an action. It is irrational, which means it is not bestowed with reason. And it is unintelligent, which means it is not an intelligent thing. It can only react but it cannot act on itself. That is why vital force is automatic and its function is only maintenance of life and health of the organism. He further says that the vital force, which of itself can only act according to the physical constitution of the organism and is not guided by reason, knowledge, reflection, and judgment. Now, reason, knowledge, reflection, and judgment are attributes of the mind. Your mind acts on these attributes, but the vital force is irrational. It is unintelligent. It knows only how to react. That is why your vital force reacts to the medical potence that you give. Now, coming to the attributes of vital force, the vital force by itself cannot restore. This is what Hahnemann has quoted, and I'm quoting Hahnemann from the introduction. The vital force by itself cannot restore the organism to health. It was not given to man to be regarded as the best possible curative agent to restore deviation from health to normal condition. Now, this part is very, very important to understand. People often accuse that Hahnemann has copied Paracelsus. But these lines, they tell you that Hahnemann has deviated from Paracelsus. He started with the inspiration of Paracelsus, but his reason told him that Paracelsus is wrong when he's talking about treatment of diseases. What Paracelsus told us? He told us if somebody is having diarrhea, diarrhea is a normal function of elimination of disease. So you must increase diarrhea. Keep on increasing the diarrhea and the disease would be gone. And Hahnemann said no. Diarrhea is only an instinctive reaction to the disease. You cannot enhance diarrhea and assume that the disease is going to be cured. To cure, you would have to do something else. And what you would have to do? You would have to first select a medicine through your intelligence, through your rational mind, and then by your judgment, you would select the right medicine, the right potency. The similia would be administered to this patient who's having diarrhea, and then the vital force would react to your medical presence, the potence that you've given, and would tune itself, and then the diarrhea would be corrected. So Paracelsus and Hahnemann, by this thought, differ completely. Now let me first sum up whatever we have told and we have talked about. The attributes to vital force are: number one, it is non-material. In aphorism 10, he tells you so. It is invisible. You cannot see it by your five senses. Not from your eyes, you cannot see it, you cannot touch it, you cannot feel it. This is in paragraph 10, 11 and footnote of aphorism 11. It is indirectly discernible, which means you can only discern it through symptoms and via your rational mind. This he has told you in aphorism 11 and 20. And then he tells you that the vital force is instinctive, irrational, unintelligent, automatic, and it is not regulated by physical or inorganic laws. It is not regulated by chemical laws. So in sum, he is telling you that vital force is something which now can be called as electrophysiological forces. The electromagnetic forces of the body, the electrophysiological forces of the body, and the autocoids and the different neurotransmitters which are present in the body fluids. Now let us talk about the homeopathic process. how this vital force can be guided for cure. Now I quote Hahnemann again. The vital force, that glorious power innate in the human beings, was ordained to conduct life in the most perfect way during health. Remember, during health. The vital force, which is equally present in all parts of the organism, in the sensible and the irritable fiber, that is sensory and the motor neurons, is the untiring mainspring of all normal natural body functions. It was not at all created for the purpose of helping itself in disease, nor for exercising a medical art worthy of imitation. He is clearly, without naming Paracelsus, he is clearly saying that Paracelsus is wrong. I must repeat again. It was not, which means vital force was not at all created for the purpose of helping itself in disease, nor for exercising a medical art worthy of imitation. You cannot imitate vital force to cure. The homeopathic process further tells you the true healing art is that reflective work, the attribute to the higher powers of human intellect, of unfettered judgment and of reason. We come back to reason. Now, Organon is an ode to medical reason. If you are reasonable, then you would understand at every step what Hahnemann is trying to tell you through his Organon. So your homeopathic art, the true healing art, is a reflective word. You have to think before giving medicine. And it depends upon the power of your intellect and unprejudiced. By unfettered, he means unprejudiced judgment and on reason. He further says, true medical art is that cognitive pursuit which develops upon the higher human spirit, free deliberation, and the selecting intellect, which decides according to well-founded reasons. And Organon will give you all the well-founded reasons on which you must prescribe. It does so in order to correctly tune the instinctual, automatic, and energetic vital force. Now you see, through your intellect, you are going to tune the instinctive, automatic, and energetic vital force. When the vital force has been mistuned, and disease for a homeopath is a mistunement of vital force. And this happens, why? In acute, because of acute causes; in chronic, because of activity of miasma. The vital force becomes mistuned and you have to tune it back. So it correctly tunes the life force by means of an affection similar to that of disease, engendered by a medicine that has been homeopathically selected. So you select a similia, a similimum. Now this similimum is now given to the person, to the system which is affected. Now, what is a similimum? It is a similar disease. So Hahnemann has defined homeopathic medicine as a disease-producing potence. It produces a disease, although it is an artificial disease, and your vital force reacts to this artificial disease, which we call as homeopathic potence, and thus it tunes itself. Now coming to the last step in understanding of the vital force, and I would like you all to be with me all through this last step. I would come back to para 9 again. Now in para 9 you would see, that is in aphorism 9 you would see that in bracket he has given a name, autocracy. So in aphorism 9 he says, in health, the spirit-like vital force, that is autocracy, the dynamis that animates the material body, rules and retains all parts of the body and harmonious vital functions and sensations. Now let us focus on the word autocracy. Now we know by now that vital force or this autocracy is an intermediate agent between the mind and the body, and it enables the mind to control the body. Body is not directly controlled by the mind. The body is controlled via the vital force by the mind. So it would be unwise to suppose this vital force as an organized entity. Now, this vital force is not a thing. It is not an object. Because if you start thinking vital force as a thing or an object, then your vital thought, your dynamic thought is lost. Now, vital force is intangible, invisible. It is like the wind. It is like the wind which is passing through the body. It is like the water which is flowing in your body. All the water, all the wind. Now, what is wind? It is all electrophysiological force. Sum total of all the electrophysiological force. What is water, which is flowing in the body? It is sum total of all the extracellular and intracellular fluid. So if you were to think of a thing, then the concept of vital force would be lost. You know, Hahnemann is actually doing a thought experiment on you. If you've studied philosophy, you would understand the meaning of thought experiment. Vital force is a thought experiment by Hahnemann onto you so that your mind starts seeing what dynamis is. So that you jump from the material plane, your mind jumps from the material plane to the dynamic plane and starts understanding. When I say the mind sees, mind is not going to see, the eye is going to see, the mind is going to understand what dynamis is. So it is unwise to suppose this vital force as an organized entity or a thing or an object. So Hahnemann categorically states in footnote aphorism 11. Now Hahnemann was a wise man, and I must tell you a little secret here, that Hahnemann, when he wrote his first organon, he quoted as a motto a different thing. He quoted a poem, a few lines of a poem written by Gellert. And when you translate those lines, they are: the truth we mortals need, us blessed to make and keep, the all-wise slightly covered over, but did not bury deep. This was the first motto that Hahnemann used in Organon, first edition. But then he changed this motto. I must tell you why. The last two lines are important. The truth is always slightly covered over by God Almighty. And it is covered over but not buried deep. Then Hahnemann thought how I must bury my real thoughts. The real thoughts needed to be buried 250 years ago, because 250 years ago, people would not have understood what he is trying to say. People yet do not understand what he is trying to say fully. Maybe some other time. So what he did, he changed the motto, number one. He buried the motto himself. The motto itself was buried. And God, the providence, is the wise one. For us, Hahnemann is the wise one. So what Hahnemann did was, all the long-lasting truths that he would like further generations to understand were buried in the footnotes. So I would urge all my readers to go through, all the listeners to go through the footnotes of all the aphorisms very, very deeply and thoroughly. And in aphorism 11, the footnote, he tells you in 3 simple words what his meaning of vital force is. And it is a conceptual controlling principle of life. In fact, he gave this to explain his concept of vital force within another name, autocracy. Now see, you would now understand what we are meaning by the conceptual controlling principle of life. We are living in a democracy. Now our democracy has 4 pillars. It has the parliament, it has a judiciary, it has a press, free press, and enforcement agencies. Now these are the 4 pillars of democracy that you see. Now these are the things that can be seen, but can you see democracy? You cannot see democracy in your nation. You can feel democracy. You can understand democracy, but you cannot see democracy. It is not a thing. It is a concept based on which parliament, judiciary, enforcement agency, and the press works. Similarly, autocracy. Now, autocracy is a concept, a dynamic concept of energies. And in our body, we have 4 energies. Like democracy has 4 pillars, we have 4 pillars of energy. One is the creating energy, the energy that creates. The other is the destructive energy, the energy that destroys. The third is the resisting energy, the energy that resists foreign invasion. The fourth is the balancing energy, that which balances all of these energies into a harmony so that we remain healthy. Now, what are the systems of creating energy? The creating energy has 3 systems. All the reproductive mechanism of the body. Now we can see reproductive organs. We can understand reproductive processes. All the repair mechanism of the body, or all the anabolic processes of the body. On the other side, the destructive energy is represented by apoptotic mechanism. The programmed cell death, PCD. This is an apoptotic mechanism and all the catabolic processes. The resisting energy is your immune system, the immunity. And the balancing energy are all the autonomic, hormonal, and autoregulatory mechanism of the body. So you can see autonomic, hormonal, autoregulatory mechanism. You can see reproductive, repair, anabolic processes. You can see apoptotic, catabolic processes. You can even see immunity nowadays. But you cannot see vital force. Why? Because it is a concept. Like democracy, autocracy is also a concept. And vital force is then something else. Autocracy, as I've told you, is 4 forces combined together. So in Heinemann's concept of vital force, you don't see vital force. It is only a conceptual controlling principle of life. Remember, it is a thought experiment. To sum up vital force in a definition, now this is the definition that I have made up. I may not be completely correct in envisaging the whole of what Heinemann has said, but I have to modernize. I had to modernize this concept of vital force. So for me, vital force or the dynamis or the vision is not an organized entity or a thing or an object, but is purely non-material, invisible, inherent, conceptual, controlling inner force or energy that controls the molecular, chemical, and mechanical processes and uses these processes for maintenance of sensation, function, and for self-preservation. So this is all I would have liked to instill to you about vital force. Dr. Ria?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I'll just stop your presentation. Yes, that was indeed very enlightening, sir. I would like to request all our dear learners to comment in the chat box with their questions now. Those who are watching this webinar on YouTube can also comment there with their questions. We will begin the question and answer session in a minute. And while they are doing so, Dr. Harsh Nigam, can you please say a few words about the course that we have done at THA with you?
Okay, now guys, in this course that we have programmed for THA, there are two basically courses. One is the fundamental course, wherein you would get to know the real concepts of homeopathy. There would be no, gray areas. There would only be black and white answers to questions like what is constitution, what is a symptom, what is a characteristic symptom, what is the keynote symptom. So you would get all the answers, how to classify the disease, how Hahnemann classified the disease. Then there is a prescriber course. Now in the prescriber course, what we are doing is we are teaching you all the steps to prescribing so that the prescribing becomes more or less universal. We are giving you standard operative protocols. Now you must remember that Hahnemann's Organon is not a book of philosophy. It is a book of standard operative protocols. Hahnemann in his time had a clear thinking. So he wanted to give a standardized way of functioning to us, to one who follows all his reasoning and accepts it. Now we have tried to do so, but we have added other concepts, other prescribing techniques which were added later on by great masters like Burnett, like Isiaga, like Ortega, and we have tried to be unprejudiced. As a rational medical practitioner, homeopathic practitioner of today, I realize that there is no single way of doing homeopathy. You have to become Hahnemann in one case, you have to become Kent in another case, you have to become Burnett in another case. So you have to become everybody. You have to be a great chameleon. You must know where to prescribe in which way so that all your prescribing becomes standardized. And this is the way homeopathy should work. And I am interested in the young generation. The young generation must know how to repertorize, which is the least taught thing in your medical school. They must know how to repertorize fast with their computers. They must all have their computers. And my course is directed to the young generation so that they may have a clear concept of homeopathy, a scientific modern concept of homeopathy, which is based solely on the foundation laid by Hahnemann and by Kent. So this is all what I'm trying to achieve. Dr. Ria?
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to inform all our learners that THA has come up with an offer on the right side of the screen where you're writing your questions. There is an offer section, and you can see the offer on the combined course of Modis Foundation and Modis Prescriber on THA. That's a 30% off, for which you can use the code FT30. Another important thing, you can see a section of poll on the chat window. I would request you all to please send us your reviews on our webinar today. So before starting with the questions, I would like to inform our learners that further sessions by Dr. Harsh Nigam will be exclusive for the learners that have enrolled to his courses. The enrollers will get a chance to interact with Dr. Harsh Nigam directly and get their questions answered.
Dr. Ria, there is a question by Dr. Markand Bothe, if I'm spelling, if I'm pronouncing it right. And he writes that some of the doctors said that oxygen is vital force. Is it correct or not? Now, let me tell you. Let us talk about, most of us are Indians, and we have been taught about the philosophy, the Vedic philosophy and all. And I must tell you, in India, homeopathy has survived because homeopathy is finely attuned with our way of thinking. And I must also tell you that homeopathy is actually a part of Ayurveda. Now in Ayurveda, there is a thing called as Sukshma Chikitsa. Now this Sukshma Chikitsa is nothing else but homeopathy. There are two sutras in Ayurveda. One goes by the name Vishasya Vish Aushadam. Zahar hi zahar ko kaatta hai. Poison is the remedy of poison. We all know about that. This was given by Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna also gave another sutra which was called as, which he wrote as Mardhanam Gun Vardhanam. Jitna ghisoge utna औषधि का गुण बाहर निकलेगा. Now see what we do. We potentize. We serially first we attenuate. I mean, we made 3x potencies by Mardana. Then we enter into the realm of potentizing. Now this is, and Hahnemann says that with potentization, energy, a curative principle is released from the material sheath. Now this is similar to what Ayurveda has taught in Sukshma Chikitsa. But Sukshma Chikitsa was not developed in India. And Hahnemann must be given credit for developing Sukshma Chikitsa into a whole system which he named as homeopathy. So when somebody says that oxygen is vital force, he or she is partly true. See, compare vital force to the concept of prana. You can read that in my book, the concept of prana. Now, oxygen is not simple prana. The air you breathe in is the prana that you are breathing in. Then this prana is dissolved in your blood and it's circulated all through the body, and your brain functions, and there are several neurotransmitters, electromagnetic forces, electrophysiological forces which are working in the body, and the sum total of all that is called as, again, prana inside our body. Now this prana inside our body in Ayurveda is called as, is said to be of 4 or 5 types: Pran, Apan, Udan, Ayan. So Pran, Apan, Udan is subdivision of this vital force in Ayurveda. In homeopathy, what Hahnemann has said is that it is only a complete whole, sum total of all the fibers, all the forces in every cell, which he takes it as vital force. So I can give you an example, a modern example to this also. Like you have a cardiac axis. Now everybody teaches you cardiac axis. While you are teaching, they are teaching you ECG. But can you see cardiac axis? No. Cardiac axis is only a concept to interpret ECG. What is cardiac axis? Cardiac axis is sum total of all the electromagnetic forces of every fiber of the heart. And it is found to be like this. So I can explain vital force to you in a way of vector. See, vital force can be explained via vector also. I can explain it to you. So, in modern terms, vital force as a concept is like a vector. So, you can do a vectorial analysis of vital force in your patient, but that is a different topic. Then there is Dr. Amital Shah. Sir, will you please guide when the person is in stress? At the same time, symptom of disease is not prevalent, but once
he's free from it,
he's free from it.
This.
I think you are okay. Now, right. What you are trying to say is that when somebody is cured by your medicine, your vital force is corrected, it is tuned, then why do you fall ill again? No, this is something that haunted Hahnemann for 16 years. Thereafter, he came up with the concept of miasma, that there is some deep-rooted force, evil force, you can say, or a disease-causing force in the body, which keeps on recurring, which causes disease on and on, again and again. So the same disease phenomena is presented in different forms. So it is the disease phenomena that we are concerned with. In real homeopathy, we are not concerned with diseases per se. We are concerned with the disease phenomena, and the phenomena are 5. The 3 were told to you by Hahnemann, and they were sora, psychosis, syphilis. The second was, the fourth one was added by Allen as pseudosora, which was tuberculin, the phenomena of tubercular diathesis or tubercular phenomena of disease. And the fifth we know now, which is the complicated miasma, which is the phenomena of cancer. And this you can read it in my book also, on the book of miasma. You can understand what miasma is and how you must understand miasma.
Yes, sir. So another learner, Dr. Kartika, in general, she's asking, in general practice, high potency is prescribed during acute problems. And normally the vitality is low in old people. So what is the safest potency to use in acute problem in old people?
It depends upon the level of practice that you are in. As a beginner, I would say start with Hahnemannian scale. If you would go through my course, you would understand that there are, in the last lecture of potency, we discussed about different scales of potencies. Now, there are 2 basic scales, in fact, 3 basic scales that we work upon. The one is Hahnemannian scale, the other is the Kentian scale, and the third is the LM scale, which was again developed by Hahnemann. So, in Hahnemannian scale, 6 till 3x you are low. From 3C to 6C you are medium, and from 6C onwards you are high. So it depends upon the scale that you choose. For Kent, 30 was low, 200 was medium, and 1M10 were high. So it depends upon your confidence. Like me, I would use 1M or even 10M repeatedly on people who are having acute diseases, even on people who are having chronic diseases, till the effect comes. So it depends upon your experience and your level of confidence, which only develops when you do homeopathy in a reason-oriented way, as suggested by Hahnemann and Kent.
Thank you, sir. Another learner, Dr. Joydev, wants to know what are the vital signs of normal vital principle and the vital force being attacked inimically.
I mean, if a person is coming to you and saying to you that I am in a problem, I am feeling sick, then the vital force is not working properly. Herein, I would also like to correct one misconception about the genesis of disease. Now, most of the people they think that Kent taught us that the genesis of disease is in the mind and thereafter the body is affected. Or there is always this essential question कि पहले मुर्गी आया कि पहले अंडा. You know, first the mind was affected, then the body was affected, or first the body was affected and then the mind was affected. Now, if you go through the organon properly, Hahnemann gives you a straight, clear-cut answer. The straight answer is that in most of the cases, it is first the vital force which is deranged. Once the vital force is deranged, then both the mind and the body are affected. In due course of time, if the disease is not cured, the disease then settles either to the body or to the mind. Then it is called as a imperfect disease or one-sided disease. But in about 1/7 of the cases, the disease starts from the mind in due course of time, affecting the vital force which affects the body. But this is a rarity. The basic cause of disease is the derangement of vital force first. So Hahnemann is very clear. So anybody who is going to come to you and say that I am feeling sick, if he is feeling sick, then the vital force is deranged. He cannot feel sick if the vital force is healthy. If the body, see what Hahnemann has said, if the body is, if the vital force is working in harmony, the body is working in harmony, the mind is free. So that the mind is healthy, so that you can think about positive things in life. You can achieve your higher purpose of existence. And once your vital force becomes deranged, your mind also becomes deranged and you start feeling sick. You first feel sick. This is stage 1 of a chronic disease. You feel sick, although there are no signs. Then the signs come. This is stage 2 of the chronic disease. The signs have come, but there is no alteration of structure. And then the stage 3, the structure gets altered. Now, when the structure is getting altered, which means now the disease, the derangement of the vital force is shifting towards the body. And eventually the structure is altered, the body is altered. This is the stage 3 of a chronic disease. And eventually, if the disease is not cured, multiple organs are going to be deranged. Their structure would be altered, their functions would be altered. This would be end stage multisystemic disease, stage 4 of the disease. And your prescribing is going to change accordingly in the modern day and age. You cannot simply rely on single medicine in each case scenario. Single medicine is going to work best in stage 1 of chronic disease, stage 2 of the chronic disease. But stage 3 and stage 4, single medicine is not going to be the best answer for and the fastest answer for your patient's problem. In acute diseases, single medicine works wonderfully because the fundamental shift is so clear that you don't have to worry about anything else. And also in acute disease, the process is rapid. Since the process is rapid, you can repeat the remedy and you can use higher potencies. You can use 30, 200, 1 m, 10 m, depending upon whatever your level of confidence is.
Thank you, sir. Another learner, Megha Mittal, she's asking, how can we differentiate between complete healing and superficial healing?
See, what I've come to understand now is, after say about 28, 29 years of experience, if the patient stops coming to you and doesn't come to you for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, he is healed. He or she would be sending you many patients, but would not be coming. This is complete healing because they are well settled in their lives and they are doing whatever they are intended to do, whatever their purpose of existence are. And they are sending you patients, remember. And homeopathy, your fame depends upon publicity by word of mouth. And this is complete healing. जड़ से ठीक होना जिसको कहते हैं, माइज्मा कभी खत्म नहीं होते, माइज्मा केवल शांत हो जाते हैं. It is like the concept of genetics, phenotype and genotype. People with right homeopathic medicine, these miasma, they are kind of, they close themselves. But in due course of time, I would say, if you give homeopathic medicine and somebody is not going to fall sick again all through his life, is wrong. The miasma may flare up. But with right homeopathic medicine, the miasma, it settles down, it closes up, and it doesn't open for a very, very long period of time until and unless things are favorable for it to reopen or flare up. Somebody has asked a very good question about, it is one Mr. Vijay Dabade. Now, this is a very interesting question. If Q and 1C to 6C are low potencies, then how to decide which we have to choose, on what basis we must prescribe? Now, very good. I have already answered a part of it. Now, you see, if you go through the whole of my course, your query would be answered. It would be crystal clear to you when to prescribe what potency. Then there is a potency scale that I have devised. You can find it on the internet. It is by the name of potency.guide, wherein you can also, my app is going to suggest you, my algorithm is going to suggest you which is to be used. But there is a rationale to it. Now, once you have structural disorder, in structural disorders, low potencies and medium potencies, they work best. Medium potencies and low potencies are very good for structural and functional disorders. You would have to study Burnett if you want to understand how this works. You would also have to study the French way of prescribing. Now, the French way of prescribing is very elaborately given by small booklets by Frontier or Fortuner Bonville. It is Bonville actually. So Bonville has, like Burnett, has written down honestly whatever he has seen in his clinic, and you can learn the art of using mother tinctures and medium potencies and low potencies by these two great authors. And you can also find it in our book, in my book, Miasma. And there is a book that I am further willing to write upon the use of mother tinctures and low potencies in homeopathy, which I am in the process of writing. If somebody asked me a question beforehand also, the answer was given. Which mother tincture, which are the drainage remedies? Now, drainage is something which was developed by French doctors. And drainage is a very important methodology in treatment today. Why? Because the patient who's going to come to you would be having so much toxicity in him, toxicity of medicines, the allopathic medicines, the adverse reactions, the kind of kadhas and kind of, Google, Giloy, etc. he's taken. Plenty of medication that is already done. So his system needs to be cleansed, detoxified, drained. And this process of drainage can be understood by a small booklet by the name of Drainage. And this you can get online also. And it can be understood by how Burnett worked. You must all read Burnett's small little books and Bournonville's small written books. They are all available at BJAN.
Thank you, sir. So another learner wants to know how the homeopathic medicines act on the vital force to heal it.
I don't know. Nobody knows. How this happens, Nobody knows, because this happens in the, so to say, as Hahnemann has said, in the invisible interior of man. So this is happening in the invisible interior of man. I don't know. Maybe further down the ages, when science has this capability of looking into the invisible interior of man, we would come to know how homeopathy works. But it works is a given. And it works in the exact fashion how Hahnemann has told us and how Hering has told us, that you give the remedy in chronic disease, you wait for a reaction, you see 5 amongst 10 reaction, one is going to happen, you choose what is next to be done, and you would always see in a chronic disease retrograde metamorphosis of disease, as it was told to you by Allen. Read Allen. If you want to understand miasma in depth, read Allen. He tells you retrograde metamorphosis of disease. The disease, the phenomena reverses. And once the phenomena reverses, you see the Hering's response. There is exteriorization of disease. I now believe, I used to laugh at this theory when I was doing my MBBS and doing my MD, and I was sitting with my father when I was doing my MD, and I used to laugh at it. But now, in each and every case, I see this happening. So this happens, cures happen, unimaginable cures happen, and it happens because homeopathy works. How it works, I don't know.
Thank you, sir. Another interesting question. Can vital force be compared to vital capacity?
Vital capacity is one part of the vital force. Vital capacity, yes, it is a part of the vital force. Your cardiac axis is a part of vital force. The sum total of all the anabolic phenomena is part of vital force. All the catabolic processes are a part of vital force. Everything, every process in your body that is going on, in the material body is going on. It is like a two-way channel. Vital force is controlling it, and there is a negative feedback loop through the vital force to control it even better. So if this negative feedback loop is disturbed by any external influence or internal influence, by stress, then you have disease. So our body works on negative feedback loop, and our vital force is, again, not a thing. It is something, which is constantly happening in the body, in every part of the body. So vital capacity is also a part of the concept of vital force. All the neurotransmitters, all the hormones, all the things that are in your extracellular fluid, they are also a part of vital force. And if you are to compare anything to vital force, and Hahnemann also did so, although unknowingly, is when he was telling you the defect of leaching and bloodletting. He told us that when people do bloodletting, they drain off vital force. And he is true. Because when you are draining blood, blood is what? Blood contains everything. And through blood contains oxygen also. Through blood, you are draining out vital force, which means when the blood is drained out, vital force becomes weak, because that a substantial amount of blood is drained out. So blood is a material manifestation of, you can say, vital force. So I would say all the blood, all the extracellular fluid, all the neurotransmitter, all the hormones, and the electrophysiological phenomena, they all combine to make up this concept of vital force.
Thank you, sir. The questions are not stopping, but we are running out of time. So let's take a few more, just one or two more, and then we'll wind up. So another learner wants to know, how do you see Sora, the deeper essence behind Sora?
Oh, very good. Now you must understand one fundamental thing here. What is Sora and what is Soric theory of disease? You must catch hold of my book on miasma, and I have devoted a full chapter on Soric theory of disease. Now Hahnemann himself did a slight bit of mistake. He named both the things as Sora. The Soric theory of disease is something else. Allen has explained it beautifully. The Soric theory of disease. and the action potentials of diseases. So you would have to read Allen, read my book also. In depth, you can read it in Allen. So there is a Soric theory. What is Sora? Sora is altered vital force. See, if we are going to take vital force as a vector, now this is a conceptual vital force. This is the positive vector, the positive part of the vector, and this is the negative part of the vector. The vital force, if it is a vector, it is going to, this arrow is going to take you towards health. Yeah. Now, when this is diseased, it is mistuned. When it is diseased, it becomes Soric. It becomes like this. Now, here it was health, and here it is disease leading to death. Health leading to positive life, disease leading to death. It becomes slowly altered towards disease. Now, this is the Soric theory of disease. Altered vital force is Sora. Now, that is why Sora is the fundamental cause of all disease. And then there is Soric phenomena of disease. Then there is syphilitic phenomena of disease. Then there is the leutic the psychotic miasma, the phenomena of disease, which is called as miasma. The Soric miasma, the psychotic miasma, and the syphilitic miasma. The Soric miasma is typified by itch and vesicle. Remember, itch, tetter, and vesicle typify the Soric miasma. Not the Soric theory of disease, but the Soric miasma. The syphilitic miasma is typified by the ulcer and the bubo. Mind you, the ulcer and the bubo. And the psychotic miasma is defined by gleat and the excrescence, the condylomata. So you see, phenomena and the end of phenomena. So that is Sora, the miasma, and this is Soric theory of disease, wherein vital force is polluted. And Henman used the word miasma is actually pollution. What Henman means is that this Soric, this vital force, which was clean, which was working towards health, the vector was going towards health, is now polluted, slowly poisoned, and turns towards disease and death. I hope I have answered you well.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so we just have like 5 minutes. So somebody is asking where can they purchase your book. So you can purchase them from BGen publishers directly. And also we'll be coming up with another webinar with Dr. Harsh Nigam only for the enrollers of the course. Yes, sir.
There's one thing that I would would like to tell you all, that there is a YouTube channel that I have. I'm telling you about this channel not because I would like to advertise it very well, but I'm telling you this because there was a query that was given by one Dr. Sajdev. Now, this is the channel. Now, that query was about scientific repertorization, how to do scientific repertorization. Now, I could not answer to that query because it was a whole, practical thing in itself. So I have put up a video there in this channel where you can learn how to do scientific repertorization. In our course, you would learn the nitty-gritty of scientific repertorization, artistic repertorization, how to do it. But the practical aspect has been shared in this YouTube channel of mine by the name of harshpositive.com. This is all I wanted to tell you. And it's a pleasure actually being with you all. Dr. Riya. If I'm online, then I would like to answer one more query. Dr. Monica has asked us whether the vital force and immunity are same.
I think there was a little technical glitch. So let's wind up here. I would like to thank you, Dr. Nigam, for such an informative and enriching experience. And I would like to extend a very warm gratitude on behalf of THA and on behalf of the BGen group. I apologize those whose questions I couldn't take up with Dr. Nigam due to shortage of time. Also, to inform our learners there, we have an upcoming free webinar, the Dr. scheduled for 20th of July, 8 p.m. You will soon receive the link for registration in your mail and on our social media handles. Hope to see you all there. Thank you, Dr. Nigam, sir. Would you
Thank
like
you
to
very
say
much.
something?
Yeah, good to be back. Would like to be back again and again and share my experiences with you. Always remember that I don't know everything about homeopathy. I'm also on a path, on a journey towards achieving what Hahnemann and Kent could achieve.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nigam. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank all you learners, the homeopathic fraternity who joined us today, and of course, Team THA, who has been working hard to make this webinar as well as THA a success. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Keep learning and keep improving.